Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested. Hope you've all had a good week and weekend. And I thought it'd be fun to end this week with a little bit of crafting, a assembly of a model kit, a laser cut model kit. That's one of my favorite things that I've found on Etsy, as well as some laser cutting of my own to add to that model kit, and also try to learn and develop some Adobe Illustrator vector skills, which I've been working on. But first, the kit itself. It comes from a San Francisco-based architect turned artist whose work I've shown on Tested before. It goes by Metropolitan Craft. And the type of work he does, well, like this is Golden Gate Bridge, of course, and it's a laser cut. This one was in a kit. It came pre-assembled like this. But one of the things I love about this sculpture is that it hides its manufacturing process. At least it does its best to not show the telltale signs of laser cutting and joinery. One of my pet peeves when I look at products and objects made with modern tools like 3D printers or laser cutters is often those telltale signs, whether it's the print lines of a 3D printer or the way laser cut models are often joined at the corners. It's all a little repetitive, and so I really appreciate it when a designer can hide a lot of those manufacturing processes in the design. And something like this, not only is it beautifully painted, but and wonderfully constructed, and it has a great dimensionality to it, but the way these layers are joined, it says more woodworking than it does laser cutting, and I really, really appreciate that. But while this is a pre-assembled model, and it's something you can pick up at the San Francisco MoMA store, the web store, as well as local merchants all around the Bay Area, please support them. What I'm going to be putting together today is a model kit from Metropolitan Craft, and I found this at a store in the Mission a couple months ago before the lockdown and haven't had time to assemble it, and it is an old-timey billboard, vertical billboard. I love the look of it. Based on this render, that dimensionality, the way the pieces are cut out, these laser cut pieces, it really heavily evokes that type of billboard you would see in Times Square, New York, in Seattle, at the Pike's Place Market, or driving along a freeway alongside the cityscape. So excited to put this together. Apparently no glue required. I'm gonna flip on a time-lapse camera above here and quickly put this together because I want to also add to it. So let's get started. Okay, there you go. Super quick assembly, about 10 to 15 minutes. And as you might have noticed in the time lapse, no glue required. I did have my CA and accelerant off camera just in case, but not needed. And that was one of the things that makes this just so satisfying. First of all, like I said, I appreciate this type of design because all the traditional telltale signs of laser cut joinery are gone. The fact that these two sides of this billboard are connected via essentially a triangle. They're not right angle joints that you see so often that I do myself in designing laser cut models, and the fact that everything, the tolerances were so perfect. That takes a lot of trial and error, especially when you're working with different thicknesses of wood here, from the base to these pieces to the dowel. There can be inconsistencies in your material supply, but the fact that all the points, all the places where you can see like the support here plugs perfectly in, it's just the fact that it takes into account the curve of the laser, and even the railing, the supports of the railing, there's a little bit of flex there, a little bit of forgiveness because it's soft wood, but it came together. Again, no wood required. And now I want to then add to it because not only is this a great display piece, it can also display things. Now I could, attach some photos to it. It might make for a good like Polaroid style display, but I have a laser cutter, and so I want to experiment with making a laser cut sign for it, some signage. So I booted up Adobe Illustrator to really make this an exercise in designing type and typography for laser cutting, with a little bit of graphic design, but with laser cutting in mind. So let's take a look at some of that capture so I can talk over and share some of my learnings that may help you if you're also learning as I am. Let's take a look. So the first thing I did to get started was measure the size of this billboard and kind of create my canvas. So I did that in Illustrator. And then I already knew what text I wanted to write. Actually, this is inspired by something that's written on one of the benches in Adam's Cave, Mark Stuff, Make Stuff. And I thought it read like something that would be said or would be posted on a vintage billboard. And also before I started, I picked the type for this. This font is called Hamilton. It's sans serif, and the effect I wanted to go for was something like you've seen in graphic design, this kind of pop effect where it looks like the text, instead of having a drop shadow, it kind of emerges from an outline from one of the corners, like a bottom left-hand corner. So I did a bunch of reading, and it wasn't simply a matter of just taking the text and creating an outline and sizing it up. There are a couple different ways, and I tried using a stroke around the text and quite give me the effect I wanted. Ended up using the offset feature. So you can create an offset, which basically creates a stroke around an outline of your type. And then that offset, which I create to be just a little bit bigger than the type, I copied that, pasted that, and then use the blend tool. And the blend tool is what gives you that pop effect where it looks like this hard shadow, this graphic art shadow on the bottom left. So repeating it for the bottom as well. As you can see, I'm creating the outline. I basically you can convert any piece of text into a vector. And what I'm doing a lot in Illustrator is I'm using the shortcut to see outlines, because while the image might look right here, none of the colors and a lot of the shapes might not actually make it over to the laser cutter, because the laser cutter only cares about that outline around what I want to cut. So using Command Y or Control Y in Windows, you can see the outline and make sure that's exactly what you want the laser cutter to cut. And then by the end of it, I was pretty happy with the type, but I also wanted to make sure that I didn't have too much gluing to do. So I tried to connect the two phrases, Mark Stuff, Make Stuff, with the phrase and here, created a little offset there, and then merge using the Pathfinder tool, the outline for this word and the text above and below it. In the end, this became an exercise in using the offset tool to create outlines, essentially strokes around objects or text, as well as that blend tool. And I'm so glad to have discovered and learned about the blend tool, because I can tell it's already going to be something I'm going to come back to. It's so powerful, and it creates just this awesome popping effect that can be used for graphic design, or in this case, laser cutter. And speaking of which, let's head over to the glowforge. All right, laser cutting is done, and yep, smells like laser cutting in here. And I'm super pleased with how this came out. Not only, like right now, you can see only the protective covering, so you don't see the actual material. I chose walnut for this, which I think will contrast well with the birch of the billboard here. But I also laser cut it twice, once again in frosted acrylic, because I want to try making this inlaid text. So the background here. The shadow essentially will be walnut, will be darker, and then it'll be frosted acrylic in the actual letters. And one of the things I did in Illustrator is try to make sure that as many of these pieces were connected together all at once, so it wouldn't be gluing individual pieces along the billboard. I can just attach this right to here. So all that's left is some tedious assembly of the peeling of this protective covering and gluing. So once again, we'll turn on the time-lapse camera. Hey, that turned out all right. Just a really fun exercise in designing some typography for laser cutting. And once again, this studio from Metropolitan Craft laser cut model kit is just a delight to put together. All the wonderful design elements, the perfect tolerances. Links to that Etsy are below, and I'm going to put the vector for this sign in the description as well for you to check out. A really fun way to end the week, and we're going to have a lot more fun this week as well. More one-day builds, more gear coverage, and a lot more stuff to come. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.